Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends. We are the Lost Signals. I am Scott Thurlow, and I'm here with my fellow pop culture aficionados, Christopher Morgan.
Hello.
And Stephen Amosi.
Popping that culture forever.
Indeed. And it is time for round 3 of our pop culture roundup madness. Every about four months or so, we've been doing like just stuff that we haven't covered either on the main channel and main shows or just, other things, pop culture ephemera we've gotten to outside of this, and just like sort of like our impressions, recommendations, like, hey, what are you checking out? Hey, in terms of this and that. So with that, with no further ado, I think we're going to start with TV, because even though one of our channels is called Film and TV, we usually cover like 80 to 90%, if not more, of film, not much TV. So that's sort of like what this is for, sort of a catch-all. But anyways, let's start with TV. Stephen, what have you been checking out on TV?
Yeah, so I think the last time we did this was November, and since then...
That is correct.
Some, obviously a bunch of shows have come out, but I want to start off with things that came out around that time, maybe December.
Okay.
So Big Mouth came out with a new season, which was as raunchy and awesome as ever. And
what season was it, Sivo? Like, what are they at now?
I believe that was season 4. I didn't have it written down.
Okay. Damn, they've done at least 3 seasons in. You're saying, right?
Yeah, it might be even season 5, but yeah, it's just always I love that show. It's so ridiculous, but it's just freaking hilarious. And unlike
Steve,
kind of a, yes,
Steve, real quick, is it ending? Is like next season the final season, or
not that I've heard?
Is it still going on? Okay.
Yeah. Wow, did you hear something?
No, I thought there was something besides BoJack that was in its final season. I wasn't sure.
I feel like you would know, Steve, if Big Mouth was ending, because I know you enjoy it quite a bit, as you just said. So go ahead.
I haven't heard anything about that. And then the other one is another like similar-ish coming of age show called Pen 15 that's on Hulu. So Big Mouth is on Netflix. Pen 15 is on Hulu. And that was season 2 of that came out, I believe, in December. And I don't think it was quite as good as season 1, or I didn't enjoy it quite as much. And it might be just I had a little less tolerance for like the insane awkwardness of the show with like my own anxiety about this year of lockdown and all that shit. But it was still pretty good. And, I ended up enjoying it by the end of the season. So yeah, if we're sticking at 2 for now, I can hold off on the rest of my TV while I'll let you guys talk.
Yeah, how about that? We're doing it in twosies, so that's on you, Chris. What have you been checking out?
All right. Actually, there's something I just thought of I want to bring up. Grownish finally released its second half of season 3. It was supposed to come out in July. So I've been watching Blackish and then Grownish. There's a couple crossover parts where they don't connect well because Grownish is supposed to be released in July.
Yeah.
So Grownish really pissed me off where they ended it. In a good way.
It didn't feel like a finale, right?
It didn't feel like a finale. They're kind of like, hi, we're just gonna end it here. See you later. They're like, all right, great. But I that's just my honorable mention. Let's just say that, because what I had queued up was The Expanse, which was its penultimate season. It's come back for one more season 6. Season 5 was, the thing I love about The Expanse is each season's kind of like a change of format, and not just in terms of how the story progresses, but how the story is told. And this season was a real fucking nail biter, because even with some characters that you were 99.9% sure we're going to make it through the season, there was a couple of episodes where they would focus on one character and you're like, fuck, why are we here? Naomi, there was an episode that focused on her that I really had to drink my way through, because it was really fucking stressful. But it was this season is just fantastic. And once again, Sheree Agdashlu, you are just our house's agreed upon crush. We love you. The rest of the cast was awesome. Amos, as always, the little flirty scene that they gave between Christina Vasarala and Amos was awesome because the two hottest characters in the show, flirting is awesome. The other thing I wanted to bring up was Letterkenny, which ended in the most infuriating season finale ever.
Pull your finger out of your ass, bud.
I feel like Letterkenny season finales are always infuriating.
Exactly like that. It's exactly like every other ending, Chris, is what I say to you. So,
but this was especially because you didn't get a chance to see oh fuck. Auntie. From the original. Yeah, Tanis. I've been waiting for her to show up, and then she shows up towards the end. And they did a really good job of tying up a lot of things that were B storylines, C storylines from
I get you.
From other seasons. And the last episode, they're like, "Hey, guess what? All these things are back, and fuck you." So it kind of left in a place where you're
but that's Letterkenny, is what
God, yeah, but they upped the stakes, and this one was definitely a.
I guess so. I feel like you don't remember some of the previous cliffhangers because they're all like, fuck you.
Yeah, but this one really brought in everything plus the kitchen sink.
Fair enough.
And if this is one of those TV equivalents of Blue Balls, and I guess being in Canada, saying that, hey, they left us with this case of Blue Balls. But they did. It was very good. I guess like The Expanse, not to the degree of the same Expanse, but the one thing I like about Letterkenny is they really kind of are not afraid to mix with format, whether or not it works or not. I give them credit for at least not trying to make the same season over and over again, which is something I always credit towards bands about not making the same record over and over again. So my two main ones are going to be Expanse and Letterkenny, and I think Letterkenny is doing 2 more seasons and out. Expanse 1 more season and out.
Yeah, good call. Good. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I thought you knew that too, Steve-O. At least
I heard Kiso, like, maybe this is a couple years ago now, but at some point Kiso went on record and was like, "I'll just do this as long as they keep giving me money to do it." But maybe he's changed his mind since then.
I mean, I feel like that's a good mindset going into it, but then you might be like, "Yeah, maybe it's time for something else." But so you guys did do this, but I guess we'll try to keep it like spoiler free as well, like in general. But yeah, I'll just say this. I agree, Chris. Expanse was fucking amazing. Some of the best character work they've ever done. It's a great series. On Letterkenny, I agree, Steve-O, on your part. Like, it's the same exact sort of like cliffhanger, like what the fuck ending they've done for every season. Like, it to me, Chris, it was perfectly in vein and keeping with everything they've done. So, but good calls. All right. So I guess
our friend Nicolette and I think Nicolette, Beth, and I are on the same page with regard to this season finale of Letterkenny. So,
all right. I guess you're just saying it hits you extra hard, and sure, I suppose. But I guess I'll cover like 2 big ones, like maybe obvious ones. So WandaVision ended a couple weeks back, and that was a big thing. We all watched it, and yes, it was incredible. It was like Marvel's first, like phase 4 of their non-movie stuff, of their season or series stuff. And yeah, it did a good job doing its framework and everything. I think it was a really good lead off. In fact, it might set the bar a little too high, because right now, today as of this recording date, episode 3 of Falcon and Winter Soldier dropped, which has been very good as well. Just just not as, I don't want to say out there, like just not as creatively to the side that WandaVision sort of was. But it's still very good, and everyone's good in it, telling its own story. Sort of like the difference, like you just said there, Chris, where it's more straightforward, more like action-y ish, but it's all really well written, really well performed, and it all ties into the greater MCU mythology. So doing a good job, and yeah, I'm digging it.
I'll say this: I really dug WandaVision. Falcon and Winter Soldier is fine. I'm like, I haven't seen the newest one yet.
That's what I'm saying.
You say it's like the best one of the 3 so far, but like, it's basically like a middle of the road Marvel movie. Whereas like WandaVision was something different and awesome. This is like, I don't know what the fuck, like the first Captain America or something like that.
You know what it is? It's a good, I don't even know if this is my own thought or if I saw it somewhere. I really can't remember, but it's like a really good one, like the best GI Joe movie you've ever seen, or like GI Joe like series, like something like that. But you're right. Like I agree with you to an
It's
extent.
like how I feel about Iron Man 2, you know, like, okay, fine, cool, it's there,
Sure.
it's fine.
But like I said, like it's not odd, I guess, but because the bar was set so high by WandaVision, because it's so like out, like again, different and unique creatively, I think like yeah, like this sort of, you could make a case that Marvel maybe shot themselves in the foot with that, because almost nothing was going to be like to that degree that they followed up.
Well, I don't know. They have some really interesting projects coming up. I mean, we'll see what Loki is, but
Sure.
that might be pretty good. But I'm really looking forward to What If. I think that's gonna be fucking awesome.
No, I agree. Like I'm excited for that too. I'm just saying, like, since the 1-2 opener were WandaVision and now Falcon, like that's just the way it shook down is all. So what's up, Chris?
The thing about Marvel is, and I'm glad to hear about WandaVision, because what you guys said about Falcon and the Snowman,
The
Falcon and the
Snowman.
Snowman,
Good movie.
Falcon and Winter Soldier, was because I haven't watched either yet, but with the films, with the Phase 4, Doctor Strange was actually originally supposed to be more of like a horror movie, and it sounds like Kevin Feige is trying to make everything more homogenous. For Phase 4, things sound less interesting. So I'm glad to hear that WandaVision was something, special. That's all.
I agree. Check it out, and I'll have one more coda for Marvel later on in the episode, but those are my two. So I feel like we were compelled to cover at least the Marvel shit. So
yeah, I was gonna say I have to remember that Chris said that Phase 4 sounds less interesting because I have a big response to that, but not on this episode.
All right. Well, it's on you anyway, Steve-O. Back to you. What's next on your TV list?
So another one that I watched, actually a couple shows that I watched that are older shows, but I finally just saw. One is the British version of Utopia. I believe I mentioned the American version on our last one.
I'm pretty sure that is true. Yes.
And it was great. I watched it with my roommates, and not to say that anybody got nervous about taking the vaccine after watching those shows, but it is all about like a worldwide pandemic, and like
sure.
it's pretty good. The British one I like a lot better than the American one. So check that out. I forget where we got it, Hulu or something. It's on one of the streaming services. And then another one is Infinity Train, which is going into its last season, and everybody should watch this show because it's fucking awesome, and it got canceled way before its time. And if there's any chance that they could bring it back, that would be fucking amazing. It's what's his name? The guy who did not Regular Show.
Didn't write it down in your notes? I thought it was him. JD Quinto.
No.
Whatever. Well, why are you looking up?
Somebody on one of those Cartoon Network shows that were great.
Okay.
Worked on Infinity Train, and it's an awesome show. Go check it out.
What channel is it on?
It was on Cartoon Network originally, but it's on HBO Max.
It's been HBO Max, right? Yeah.
Everybody who has HBO Max, go check it out. It is worth a watch, and it's got Shafted. So
yeah, good call.
For this round.
I'll give a shout out real quickly before go back to you, Chris, that our friend of the show and our friend in real life, of course, Rich Perry, is the one who, at least for me, he was like, yo, this was like last winter. He's like, yo, check out Infinity Train. I'm like, cool, I'll do that eventually, maybe. And then like sort of like got traction. So you checked it out. And you're right. It's supposed to be, from all accounts, supposed to be pretty fucking solid, and was, cut off before its time. Untimely ended, it seems. But
yeah.
All right, Chris, what do you got?
Okay. My honorable mention this time is started that the season of Discovery started off strong. I love the way it ended. I'm just going to leave it at that because I don't want to give spoilers.
Is that the last season, or they got more coming? I guess
no, they definitely have a season 4 coming up. Okay. I'm kind of hoping they know when to say when, but season 3, it really came into its own. So I hope they're able to, they have, strong ideas going into 4.
Right.
Season 4, which I'm really looking forward to. So it's coming to its own. So hopefully it'll do a couple more seasons, because by the time Enterprise came into its own, they had already, damage has been done. But fortunately, Rick Berman's far away from this. So, that's definitely, that definitely works into its favor. Beth and I started watching Sex Education. on Netflix, which we fucking love.
Because you wanted to have kids, right?
I've never wanted to have kids.
That was a joke.
That wasn't. Yeah, that pause indicated that it was that kind of derailed me. But
He made an uncomfortable face if you weren't watching this.
Entirely.
no, yeah, well, because there was a moment in time we contemplated it, and we're like, when ironically enough, when it came to the discussion of like arguing what kind of children we'd want, because who is going to have the sex talk, that pretty much put the nail in the coffin. And this show basically shows why that if you're deciding to have kids, figuring out like if you want to have a sex talk, when you're going to have a sex talk with your kids, this is probably a good thing for it. The show's great. Gillian Anderson's wonderful. Oh Christ, I'm blocking the actor's name. Asa Butterfield is fantastic. It's really funny where you have a show where the two main characters are both straight men in an absurd, hyper real thing.
Sure.
But they're two sides of the straight man trope, which I thought was which I think really works for the show well. And actually, to be honest with you, the rest of my I mentioned Blackish before and Grownish, so I guess the rest of mine will be rewatches. So I guess we'll get to that. Oh, one more thing I'm going to bring up. We haven't watched it yet, but season 4 of Winona Earp, their last season,
still on too.
Part 1's been released. Part 2, we're waiting until part 2's getting done, but it's definitely on our to watch list. So maybe next pop culture roundup, I will bring it up. But since it's still out there, I want to recommend everybody watch the first 3 seasons. So,
all right, right on. Yes, we'll get to rewatches in a bit because I think it's sort of like kind of de facto become maybe like a sort of half standard thing that we've been doing, at least on the pop culture roundup. But I do want to mention one thing, and we brought it up a number of times now already, that I believe somewhere down the line we will be covering it on the main shows, that like when to end the show, like when should you call it quits on the show? When is it too much, or when they get or conversely, like you said, Steve-O, when a show gets cut off sort of unfairly and didn't get its time to really breathe. But yeah, I think that's an interesting topic, and we'll go into that later, but I just want to throw it out there as a quick teaser. So I guess I'll go to my if it's back to me, I believe it is.
Yeah.
I got 2 enemy things, so I might be stealing one from you, Steve-O, sorry. But the first one I'm going to talk about is I don't think anyone else has watched it. I told you guys about it when it was on, called Akudama Drive. I believe it's on Hulu. It's 1 season, like limited. It's like 1 story, 1 season, and the story's done. And it's basically like cyberpunk noir heist like story. It's really unique. Like got a cool world. There's like 7 or 8 characters. It's like Ocean's 11 in a cyberpunk Tokyo, like Japan, obviously. Like, but it's really cool. It's quite clever and gets a bit dark, but like never takes itself too seriously. And the animation, the music is really awesome. Chris, you would love the theme song, I think.
nice.
So yeah, I've been telling people to check it out. Like I stumbled upon it like when I was probably playing Cyberpunk the game and be like just looking up like awesome Cyberpunk stuff. And it came across like a couple of lists, and I decided to check it out. And like just because also it's not too much of commitment. I think it's like, standard 10, 12 episodes or whatever, and that's it. Just complete, and it was really well done. Now, ongoing still is, of course, Attack on Titan, which I know Steve and I have been quite riveted by. Yes.
Not necessarily, of course. That was actually a surprise. Did you hear about that?
What do you mean?
All right, so I was going to talk to you about this, and I haven't gotten a chance to yet. So the last episode that came out was supposed to be the finale. That's what everybody thought, including everybody in like Japan and everything. It came out, and it was like to be continued. Everybody was like, "What the fuck?" And then they announced right after they dropped it, apparently, that the second part of this season, whatever, is coming out like next year. So we're not getting any more AOT till next year. But...
So November, I thought, like, if I did see that, like, I never thought it was going to be the end. Like that episode clearly could not have been the end, and I never was expecting to be. I guess I didn't see that. Like, I don't know why people thought it, or like at least I didn't encounter that. I just assumed like they were breaking it up anyways. Like
that was all the episodes that they announced, so they hadn't announced any more after that. Yeah,
I didn't like follow. I didn't do the research on that. I just figured like standardly, like it was like part 1 of the end, the final season, and part 2 will be coming clearly later. But I just didn't I didn't expect it to be the last one. I was like, okay, now it's break time. It's coming back like late this year, or even early next year, as you said. But I will say it has been fantastic. Like I've been riveted by the series since I started watching it. and it's just one of the best anime adaptations of the manga. I believe the manga's done or is about to be done as well, so maybe they're waiting for that to catch up. But makes sense. But yeah, AOT has been fucking sweet, and it's like hardcore badass, like super well written, and just like the themes are amazing. I think there's a new theme song in the intro, I believe, for this season, Stevo, different from the earlier ones, and it's so fucking bad. Like I love the imagery they have for it. It's so fucking sweet.
Yeah, I think they do a new one every season, but
Okay, maybe yeah.
there was a new apparently animation studio that did this season than the other three. Uh, that was some kind of big thing blow up. You know, they were like, "Is it going to be as good?" Whatever. It's been awesome this season.
I didn't hear that, but I can tell you what it has been is fucking great, and I didn't notice like any difference. In fact, it might have been a little bit better, like not better, but just like more intense, I guess is what I want to say. But obviously, that kind of makes sense as they're ramping up to the actual. This is legit the final season. They make it very clear every time you watch an episode. But yeah, it has been great and been enjoying it. All right, so that's my two enemy things, and I think we're back to you, Steve-O.
Yeah, I'm gonna continue on with like things that I missed the first time around and am catching now. One of them is Search Party, which is on HBO Max, all 4 seasons of it. And I think they're gonna have one more with Aaliyah Shawkat of Arrested Development fame, and she's been in a bunch of other stuff at this point. But this show, I've been meaning to watch it for a while, and I finally caught it. It's really good. It's like condemnation and at the same time a love letter to like the millennial generation. So it's it's really great, and I like what Aaliyah Shawkat is doing with a lot of her stuff these days. She seems like a interesting actor / creator to watch. I think she's like I think she directed one of the episodes of this too, so she's up and coming and doing a lot of that stuff. So that's good. Check it out. Another one is I think I mentioned this in the last one. I'm still watching The Next Generation for the first time.
That's a good lead in.
I'm getting close. I'm in season 6 right now, and there's 7 seasons, so I'm getting close to the end. I need to pick up the pace a little bit, but I got a whole bunch of other crap that I'm working on right now. So
I feel you. Very busy, but make it so.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's a really good lead in because it's back to Chris, and it's like kind of technically counts as a rewatch. So go ahead, Chris. Take it away.
All right. I just want to mention that we started working. We like to, since working from home, we like to have stuff that we had already seen. So quick shout out to Killjoys. It ended last year. I don't think I mentioned it. Fantastic show. 5 seasons. It was a Sci-Fi Channel show, so I think it might be on Prime. I'm not 100% sure. Killjoys, great to watch. We started watching Farscape again, and you want to talk about something where they were never sure if they were going to come back the next season, so they always left with a "fuck you" cliffhanger. Henson Studios, you have a lot of characters that are animatronic puppets, whatever. It doesn't take very long to all of a sudden forget that they're puppets and that they're characters. The character work on it is very, very, very good. But really, what I want to spend my time on right now is Babylon 5. They put the remaster because they have an agreement with Warner Brothers. It's on HBO Max. They did a HD 4K remaster. Just a caveat.
Obviously.
Yeah, this was the first television show to not have any model work, unlike like its contemporary Star Trek. It had no model work. It was all CGI. The first season definitely looks dated because, like, literally, when you say, hey, it's an in-house production, it started with an Apple computer in somebody's bedroom for the pilot. The great thing about the show is it is a pre-planned 5-year television novel by J. Michael Straczynski. So he'll plant seeds in the pilot in the first episode. He gives a spoiler in the first episode that you don't see until the third, and you get the context of it in like the 4th or 5th season.
I really like that kind of stuff, though. Yeah,
because Straczynski is not so much about spoilers, but is about context. So he doesn't care if you know the fate of someone or something, but he really is more interested in the context. So you basically will get the spoiler. He does a lot with fragmented storytelling, but keeping it in a linear storytelling, which is very, very good. If you are interested in all, Scott, about playing the remaster of Mass Effect, the
I am.
biggest inspiration
And
for Mass Effect was
I'm very
Babylon.
much aware of that, Chris. Yes.
Was Babylon 5. Even in the remaster, watching it, as much as
know.
Beth and I are saying, like, wow, they really set up this character and situation. We're really like, oh yeah, this is where Mass Effect got this.
Trust me, it's on my thing of somebody should be sued when we get to that episode. But yes,
yeah, it's done. It's done with a lovely homage. Two quick more, and I have to say that the sci-fi tech, is, except for the alien technology, is really grounded in actual physics. So unlike Star Wars or Star Trek, where it's kind of more of a Star Wars is definitely sci fantasy. Star Trek balances between science fiction and science fantasy, especially when it comes to the Earth ships. They're really grounded in more real science to the point where, like, NASA said, "Hey," because most of these places go to jet propulsion in California, and basically said, "Hey, can we use this like for the Star Fury, which is the Earth Alliance fighters?" They said, "Yeah, so long as you name it. If you go after it, name it a Star Fury." So, given that we were talking Expanse, it's really neat to see that we had early on actual physics. And lastly, I want to say two characters, Londo and Jakar, played by Peter Jurassic and the late great Andres Catulas, who is the one-armed man in the movie of The Fugitive, are definitely two of my favorite characters of anything ever. So in terms of character work, in terms of stories, I cannot recommend Babylon 5 enough. And I don't think I give it as much credit as
I think you give it as much credit as you ever will because you're a nerd for it. But fair enough, good, and I get it. So the rewatch thing is cool. I'll get to mine, but I think if that's it for your round, Chris, it's on me. I had one, Steve-O, I'm gonna give you one of the animated things that we both like. If that helps you out, that's yours. So the last one I have on mine, and I know Chris, you watched the first season of it, but Snowpiercer season 2 just ended, and I'll try to make this like a joke and not a spoiler. Like maybe it might be like halfway of both. It's very good. I liked it a lot. I think they did. I think speaking of going back just earlier, they have 2 more seasons in mind. I believe. I think they have a known cutoff. Like we're gonna do 4 or 5 or whatever. So this is season 2, and Jennifer Connelly is awesome in it. And I have a callback to her or a tie into her, something else with her in a second. But she's great in it. David Diggs, Steve, I know you like him. He's fucking fantastic. Can't remember his name. The guy who plays fucking Pike is a guy who also it's his voice and face for GTA 5. He's Trevor in it. He's fucking like almost the same dude, and it's really good. But also, Sean Bean shows up as essentially he's Wilford. I don't think that's a big spoiler. Like he's Wilford. He's instead of Ed Harris, it's him playing that character. Yeah. And he's fucking, of course, he's fucking Sean Bean. And I will leave it for you to decide, you guys and the audience, whether or not you think he dies in season 2. I'm not going to say that he does or doesn't. It'd be an interesting bet.
I'm waiting for it to get on Max because I'm dying to see season 2.
Yeah, but it was very good. So that's my last one, I think, in terms of that. I'll get to my rewatch after this, but Steve-O, I will toss it back to you now.
All right. I got to speed up here a little bit because I got a million things left. I'm going to go do the rest of my animated ones. All right.
Go ahead.
So, season 1, Kid Cosmic. It's the creator of the Powerpuff Girls. Did this show. It's on Netflix. It's really good. I love the animation style. Check it out. Blood of Zeus on Netflix.
I wanted to check that.
Anime style Greek pantheon show. Really good, especially towards the end of this first season. I believe they're signed up for a second season, so that's good to go.
Nice.
Solar Opposites season 2 just came out, and it was better than season 1. The first season was like kind of meh. The second season was better. Love those wall stories. If anybody's watched season 1, they might know what I mean. If not, feel free to check it out.
Then you don't.
Yeah, then you don't. And
there's two more I'm thinking of animated specifically. One I left for you, one that we both watched, but I also left for you.
Yeah. So the one, I'm not sure what the second one you're talking about is, but the one I'll mention is DuckTales. Unfortunately, just ended got canceled. The new DuckTales was awesome. It was very good. I know me and Scott were both watching it, and it's really just sucks that they canceled it. But
Again,
I thought it went out
ended
on a
before
good
its
note.
time. Yeah. Ended before its time, but I agree. As you said, yes, 100% went on a good note. Good on them.
And the final animated show that I have on this list, I still have a few more non-animated shows, but final animated show I have on this list for now is currently running. Amazon has Invincible, superhero show based on Robert Kirkman.
Oh yeah,
Robert Kirkman's book. I don't love Kirkman's dialogue, which is why it's hard for me to get through any of his books, and
nice, Chris.
kind of transfers over to the show. But otherwise, it's pretty good. And an interesting premise. So I'm enjoying it so far. I'm 3 episodes in, and it's not too bad. And that's all of my animated shows. I don't know which one you were thinking.
No, you missed one because real quick before you go, Chris, I thought you were gonna throw in Disenchanted Part 3.
Oh, that's right. I did have that. I'm sorry. I skipped it. Disenchantment season 3 came out recently, and much like me forgetting about it here, it was kind of boring and not boring, but it was just fine. It wasn't
fine.
It wasn't like amazing or anything. I keep hoping that this Grainig show is going to get better, and it's just kind of treading water where it is. So it's not terrible. It's not great. It is what it is.
No, you're right. Like, last thought on that is I watched it as well. I was like, yeah, I mean, sort of committed to it, but it was entertaining enough. But you're right. Like afterwards, like a week afterwards, like I totally forgot that I even watched it. So,
yeah,
but it does exist, and like it's good enough. So, anyways, back to you, Chris.
Yeah, most of what I've been watching are YouTube shows. My political show du jour is The Rational National with David Dole. I think he's great. He's from Canada. One thing I forgot to mention about Babylon 5 is Star Trek is the ideal. Babylon 5 is real politics. I always like to have a Canadian perspective, and I'm going to get back to Canada in a second. Todd in the Shadows, still watching that. One Hit Wonderland and Trainwreckers.
Right on.
One of my favorite shows right now is Everything Music by Rick Beato. He does What Makes This Song Great, one of the things I always had a thing with, I was like talking about like Running with the Devil and how great Michael Anthony, a bass player, was. I'm like, he's okay. Well, watching Why Is This Song Great with him, I realized why Michael Anthony is a great bass
Change
player.
my mind.
Well, because you have the two Van Halens on either side, and his Michael Anthony just basically excels at like placement, and he's a really sharp player. So if you're ever wondering about like whether about what, if there's a song you're not really sure why people love it, I highly recommend checking his stuff out. Again, Rick Beato, Everything Music, What Makes a Song Great. Getting back to Canada, the other show I'm obsessed with is Brandon's Cult Movie Reviews. Brandon Tenold is a guy from Canada. He reviews a lot of cult movies, and the great thing about his is there's either movies that I watched growing up that were VHS shows that I'm like, I never got around to watching, whether I should go back and watch them, or movies that I'm like, hey, should I go back and rewatch? So he's been helpful about that, but he does these little Canuckathons. They have like cult movies made in Canada. He and I play the same bass, which is sharp. But I really enjoy, I really think his show is fantastic. Enjoy the hell out of it. So basically Everything Music, Brandon's cult movies are the two things I watch right now, mostly.
Right on. You're the music guy.
We're through the looking glass now. We're reviewing review shows on YouTube. We're a YouTube show.
Yeah. It's all recursive. It's turtles all the it's reviews all the way down, Steve-O, obviously. Retrospectives all the way. But no, so I guess that leads me to my final one, which is quite a good segue. And that, like, we were discussing it like off cast, like I was just hanging out with E, and it came up like we were hanging out, like, either rewatches or watching something that you hadn't seen before, or like you'd seen some of but not all of. So I would say 80%, 85% full rewatch of 12 Monkeys, the TV series, which was also originally on Sci-Fi, and now it's on Hulu, like all of it. It's 4 seasons, and I think it's like super underappreciated. And I actually enjoyed it a bit more upon the second viewing, because like I remembered a lot of stuff. Or like at first I was just gonna pick out like certain key episodes or arcs, like a series of 3 episodes that like had like a mini arc. I was like, all right, I remember that one being cool, I like that one. But I think they did a lot of great work with the characters and like some of the actors. I want to give a shout out to Emily Hampshire, who so they gender swapped Brad Pitt's character, so it's now Jennifer Goins and not Jeffrey Goins from the show, and she just does an amazing job. Like the writing is spot on, and I'll say this: it takes itself seriously just enough, sets up the time travel rules, and like then they sort of play with it, like okay, this is how it works, like whatever, like. But it plays by those own rules, sets up like what can be said to be like like I don't want to say absurd or ridiculous, just like can be a bit of a stretch. But if you just suspend your disbelief just enough to buy into it, they keep it straight, they play by it, and the guy who plays James Cole, which is Bruce Willis's character, he is played by Pyro from the X-Men. What's his name, Chris?
Aaron Stafford.
Aaron Stafford, yeah, and he's great too. And just they expand the universe. They expand like some of the stuff. Like for example, Jones, the scientist, who has like 2 lines in the movie, is like a whole full character, a great character as well. And again, I just think it's underrated, holds up really well, and it's a complete little, again, 4-season thing, and that's all you need. And it's just got some great moments in it, a lot of pop culture references as well, specifically from Emily Hampshire's character. And I think that was like, it punctuates the moments of levity and all. So yeah, I just gotta give a big shout out to that show in general. It was I don't often personally rewatch stuff, like we'll say like, I don't have a lot of time for that. It was something I settled on, decided to, and just once I started, I was like, you know what, it was great, it was excellent, and I'm gonna finish it out. Again, like I skipped an episode or 2 here or there. Like I skipped like half of the first season, but after that, basically watched it all, and it's still great. And I can give you more examples here and there, like funny stuff they did, but they just play with a lot of the time travel tropes, and again, plays it straight just enough, but also never taking itself so darkly seriously that it can't like poke fun at itself and like the idea of time travel and stuff in general. It was a satisfying conclusion. So yeah, if you haven't seen 12 Monkeys, the series, I do highly recommend it. It's totally worth it, and I enjoyed my rewatch of it. So
Emily Hampshire is a Canuck as well.
Yep,
and a treasure.
She's fantastic in this.
Yeah.
So I think that's it.
Schitt's Creek last.
Yeah, that's right. I think you did. One of you, or at least maybe both of you, mentioned Schitt's Creek on the last roundup, and yeah, she is in that. And I can't speak highly enough about her and the show in general. So I think that's my final TV one. That's my big rewatch, and that's what I did. So back to you, buddy.
Let me wrap up my TV stuff here because I got a bunch of comic stuff that I've been reading. Finally, getting back into comics again this year. Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. Watched the final season. It sucked. Don't get rid of it.
Garbage show.
Should have been the best one, and it was the worst. Mr. Mayor, I watched Ted Danson's new show. Tina Fey produced. It was okay, kind of middle of the road. I'm hoping season 2 gets a bit better. I did like, I love 30 Rock, and I liked Kimmy Schmidt, so we'll see if that one gets better. I am mid. This is one that I actually missed when it was on, but I'm mid watching the show Warrior. It was on Showtime, I believe, and it's based on the writings of Bruce Lee. A lot of cool kung fu action. Very, very cool show. It's based in like turn of the century San Francisco, I believe, and where a big like Asian community came in to America, and a lot of their struggles and shit. And it's very, very good. And then I'll leave off with this last one. I've got 2 more, or a bunch more, but one I'm doing all the CW DC shows that I'm watching and grouping them into one. I'm actually only watching 3: Flash, Batwoman, and Superman and Lois right now. Superman and Lois is actually turning out to be a decent show, unlike all the rest of the CW shows, CW DC shows. So I'm looking forward to some more of that. The other ones I watch because they're, those are my, so like a lot of people have like reality shows as their like trash TV or like soap operas. Those are my reality shows, soap opera type fillers. My like, the Flash and Batwoman are like my trash TV, just zone out and enjoy and spend some time, hanging out with roommates.
I feel you.
And then the last one that I want to mention, actually just started watching this. I'm only 3 episodes in, and it came out on Apple TV, so it's a real pain in the ass to get.
Fuck Apple TV.
Yeah, but it's Ted Lasso. It's a show that I've been thinking that I want for like a long time over the last year and however many weeks, because like everything is just like sad and depressing. And, you know, we got all of our Oscar picks this year are just sad and depressing. Ted Lasso is like optimistic, really fun and funny show without being like naive. It's basically Major League, if you guys have seen like that
Yeah,
movie,
of course.
for like soccer. So
Okay.
like the owner of the team is trying to make them tank, so she hires this American football coach from the US to come over and coach like a professional soccer team, and it's fucking hilarious. Jason Sudeikis is great in it. So check that out if you have the beans. I know Apple TV is a pain in the ass to get, but yeah, that's a good one. That's all on my TV. Next
If you
is
have the
comic.
means, you highly recommend it. All right, Chris,
Yeah.
back to you. You got anything left on your TV list?
It's basically, I watch YouTube shows. Ian and I briefly mentioned it before, but Pitch Meeting with Ryan George. I don't know if you mentioned it. Anything Ryan George does is hilarious. I think he's great. I'm going to move on to probably a movie in a minute, but which brings me back to Brandon Tenold, because he does this whole thing with kaiju films, with Gamera's and Godzilla's, which
Multiple, like Gameras and Godzillas, you mean? Like,
well, he'll do the Gamera things, and he'll call any little annoying child in kaiju films Kenny's. I think that started with MS3T3K. So yeah, so watching Gameras, I'm like, I cannot believe I fucking used to watch this stuff. And there's some stuff like Turkish ripoffs and Korean ripoffs that Scott, I think, as somebody who is not a fan of kids, probably more than I am, you will enjoy.
Watch you get hit in the face all day. I don't give a fuck, man.
All I need to know
basically, yeah, I have this.
Is the power level enough?
But it's really funny between the YouTube shows and a lot of stuff, how many people from Canada I watch. So, you know,
Canada's crushing it, man. No, for sure.
Yeah, I'm kind of jealous I don't have a Canadian accent. So if it's okay, I'm just going to briefly mention a movie. I saw Godzilla versus Kong. It was a huge disappointment. I know a lot of people say that, like, oh, you're going to see the monsters fight. I'm like, yeah, but there has to be some kind of human element that pulls it together. And whether or not Godzilla is rarely the star of his own movie. Obviously, we reviewed Godzilla 1954, the original one. I'm a huge fan of the American 2014 film, and I loved Shin Godzilla, which also had various degrees of the human element. Brian Terry Henry and
Millie Bobby are also in it, right?
And Millie Bobby were completely wasted. Two of my favorite actors were completely wasted in this film. The monster fights are great. The human story was like the biggest waste of time I've seen since some of the worst Toho films way back when. So Mott scale, I'd probably give it a 4. I'm going to give credit where for the monster fights were very good, even though the editing sucked and it felt like this was 3/4 of a movie. I would not give it a recommend. So my Motts for King Kong versus Godzilla versus Kong is a 4 without a recommend.
Fair enough. I will say this. I know you were super excited about it, and it came out early this week. So I was like, you know what? I'll sit down and maybe watch it. And I made it through half an hour, and it's like, it's just not grabbing me. Great. I love Brian Tyree. We all love him, and Millie Bobby's also usually great, but it just didn't grab me, and I went back to doing other pop culture shit. So yeah, Chris, like I tried to. I was like, maybe I'll get back to it. I don't know if I ever will, but so yeah. All right. So how about this? I guess I have a few films. Like I could do brief things, and then maybe you and me, Steve-O, will do comics and games, and Chris could just sit there silently or something. But real quick,
I'll do music while you guys are doing that.
Yeah.
So I know you saw this film a while back, and you did recommend it. This is maybe even before the podcast, Chris, but finally Attack the Block with John Boyega was on the other day, and I caught it, and I was like, yeah, it's fucking solid. Like, is it great? No, but is it entertaining and well done? Yes.
Jodie Whittaker's in it too.
Yeah, you're right. Jodie Whittaker was also an episode of Black Mirror and a couple other things. I think she's the new doctor.
New doctor.
Right. So like, yeah, it's a great little like small scale sort of alien invasion film and really well done, and I enjoyed the hell out of it. Now another one, I love the original Carpenter's Assault on Precinct 13. Of course, is one of Ian and I's favorite films, or at least a film we enjoy. Now there's a remake of it with Ethan Hawke and fucking Lawrence Fishburne, and also John Leguizamo. Like a bunch of people are in it from like 2010 or something like that, which also happened to be on. I was like, yeah, let me check it out. You know what? In my memory, compared to the original, it stuck pretty closely. Like there's it's hard to deviate from the plot of like a bunch of like gangsters assault a police station, but they did sort of twist it a little bit, and it was entertaining as well. And of course, like Lawrence Fishburne, a la some other actors that we'd like to point to, like can make almost anything awesome. So like he was very good in it, and it was again solidly enough enjoyable to watch. Now, last one is I tried to watch again. I DVR'd it. I was like, let me get to this. It was the original True Grit with John Wayne. I was like, all right, that's supposed to be like one of the great films. I did like the remake with fucking Jeff Bridges. I did see that a couple years back. Oh yeah, you're right. But anyway, the remake was good. So I tried to watch the original again, like a la Godzilla. I was like, it's just the pacing wasn't there. Like I just couldn't get through it. Like I couldn't make it very far. But I tried. I wanted to. I was like, this is supposed to be one of the best, if not well remembered and known westerns, especially featuring John Wayne. And I was like, whatever. So those are my films that I watched. Like anything else I watched, we already covered on the show, and that's what I tried to check out and what I thought of it.
Yeah.
All right, Steve-O, you've been dying to do this, so hit me with the comics.
All right, I'm gonna do these in a few different things, but like here are the ones that just ended recently that I've been reading for a long time. You got 2 Rick Remender books, Black Science with Rick Remender and Mateo Escalera. Ended up pretty good. I think you read most of that one.
I read a lot of it. Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I remember you borrowing it or from you back in the day and enjoying it. So, again, I didn't think it was still going on, but it makes sense that they had like a hiatus, whatever. So.
That one just ended. So that was pretty good. I enjoyed it. Just high sci-fi stuff. And Low, Rick Remender and Greg Ticini, which is like a book about the Earth is like dying and people are trying to survive, basically. Ended up actually pretty strong. The final trade finally came out recently, so that was good. Also, Sex Criminals just ended. There's a Matt Fraction, Chip Zdarsky book. It's pretty fucking bizarre. It's kind of a comedy. I enjoyed it. I think it went 6 trades, maybe 7, and definitely worth a read. I liked it. And then the last one that just recently ended was East of West, Jonathan Hickman book,
which I loved,
which is fucking
but didn't
great.
Finish yet.
Jonathan Hickman and Nick Dragotta is the illustrator. So East of West is like the future apocalypse comic book for.
It's awesome. It's cyber apocalypse kind of.
Yeah, basically. Hickman's always good with that. My picture that I have behind me, if you're watching us, is from East of West. Definitely worth a read. So those are the 4 books that just ended. I've got some more that I'm reading that are still ongoing, but I'll let you guys. I'll mix those in for later.
All right. Well, it's back to Chris. What do you got there?
Yeah, it's really funny. I'm going to make one more quick mention. I forgot about it, and that probably says a lot. I did watch the miniseries of The Stand. I thought it was pretty decent until I got to the point.
Chris, the new one, the one that's on. What was it on?
On Paramount Network.
Right.
It used to be CBS, now it's Paramount. I thought they did a fairly decent job until I remembered who lived and who died, and I went from loving it to like I fucking hate the way this book ended. Because
the book or the series? You mean?
The series, both.
No spoilers.
Okay.
Because the most boring characters,
characters you didn't like lived, and vice versa.
Yeah. But the thing is, it's got a great cast, including Fiona Dourif. She shows up in it towards the end, and Ezra Miller. He plays Trash Can Man, which is awesome. So that was my little tag on TV. Basically, music wise, I am in a couple weeks going to be releasing my first EP. And I actually realized that narrative.
Do you recommend it, though? Is the question.
I do recommend it. I also recommend that narrative timbre, I realize, is a vlog. So I don't actually have to have a show. So instead of actually writing a blog, I can actually do the vlog thing. So I've been doing a lot of retrospective listening. So I mentioned in Narrative Timbre last, the Thompson twins were a huge influence of mine. Been listening to going back and listening to them and Tom Bailey's newest record. He was lead singer, keyboardist, guitarist. I also been like obsessed with Public Image Limited lately. So I've been going back and listening.
John Lydon thing? You mean Johnny Rotten's like Project
Johnny
F
Lydon.
Sex Pistols?
Yeah, I am, going back and listening to Public Image Limited. I saw them in a show. They are sandwiched between the Sugar Cubes, who are boring, and New Order, who was New Order. They were fine. Um, Public Image Limited was great to see live 30 years ago. Like I said, I've been kind of obsessed with a lot of music I used to listen to. So Public Image Limited kind of came out of nowhere. So
Nice.
Right on. Well, I guess I only have one music thing since you brought it up, so we'll go back to it. But I lent you a bunch of stuff. So last spring, in the midst of the true onset of the pandemic, I stumbled upon like a lot of basically dark atmospheric mixes. It's all instrumental stuff and like very sort of eerily ethereal, like otherworldly soundscapes. And this one label called Cryo Chamber puts out a lot of them. And it's run by a guy named Simon Heath, and he does a lot of the music and artwork. I think he runs a label and also like handles the artist. So I recently ordered a whole bunch of CDs from him, like 10 of them, and just it's all just great for me. Like late at night, sort of a lot of them are sort of vaguely conceptual, but again, there's no lyrics, there's no words. It's just all instrumental, like eerie soundscapes, like that are somewhat differentiated in slight terms, but it's basically dark ambient, I believe, is like the genre, and it's all really great. So there's a lot of mixes on YouTube. You can go check it out. Just look up Crowd Chamber. But I decided that I listened to it for free enough, and it's time to give them some money, support these artists doing this stuff. So I did that, and it's all really great. And I've just been enjoying the crap out of that. It's very good background stuff, good reading stuff, especially reading like I read a Lovecraft story with it in the background, like shit like that. So yeah, I do want to give a shout out to. Yeah, it's perfect. I do want to give a shout out, and like some of the names, like there's one of them. Artist name is called Flowers for Body Snatchers, which is I thought was amazing. Like a lot of the track names are fucking fantastic. So yeah, just I want to give a shout out to them. That's the music I've been checking out, Chris. So yeah, pretty much that for like 2 weeks straight since I got the CDs. Just put on rotation and just have them on repeat. Very nice. All right, Steve-O, I think we're back to you. Get some more comics in there.
All right, I'm gonna rip through a bunch of these real quick. So continuing series right now that I'm reading, Monstrous. I just read trades 4 and 5. Marjorie Liu is writing it. Art by Sana Takeda. Really cool, like high concept fantasy. Gideon Falls, Jeff Lemire book, who is always awesome. It's a great horror, one of the great horror books that's out now. There's a lot more comic horror coming out recently, which is great. Another Lemire book with Dustin Nguyen, Ascender, is the follow-on to their previous book, Descender.
Yeah, I kind of remember that. Yeah,
which is I'm still fucking loving it. It's kind of like a 20 years later type of book, and see, it's like a next generation type of thing. That's really cool. I just read this book, Blue and Green. It's like an old school jazz like twist on the deal with the devil type of story. It's written by this guy called Ram V, and I forget, I didn't write down the artist name, but really awesomely illustrated. There's a book called Dracula, motherfucker.
Awesome.
That's about Dracula in the 70s and like somebody stumbling upon him and trying to figure it out and a bunch of that stuff. So that's written by Alex DeCampi, and Erica Henderson is the illustrator. Really cool visuals on that one. Harrow County, actually, our friend of the show, Joe Soria, introduced me to this one. Very cool, like ghost story vibe on this comic.
More to come on that, but yeah.
Yeah, watercolor type illustration, which is similar to like how Ascender is illustrated. Written by Colin Bunn and Tyler Crook. Something is Killing the Children, which is written by James Tinian IV, who people might recognize. He's been a bunch of things. And Werther Deladria is the illustrator. This is a horror comic about something that's killing the children. It is what it says, but it's fucking great and well written, well drawn. Definitely worth a look. And the final one I want to mention here is Bitter Root, which is like a Harlem Renaissance steampunk monster tale.
That sounds really cool.
Yeah, it's awesome. Like struggle of like, you know, black folks in this country around that time, uh, and kind of talks about like generational knowledge and you know, doing the work of tradition versus like the work of progress and science, and like not necessarily versus, but like talks about both of them and how they're both important. Sometimes they're at odds, but like a lot of times they are both produce positive things. It's written by David F. Walker and Chuck Brown and illustrated by Sanford Green. Um, Definitely cool. If you get the trades, they at the back of them they have like freaking essays about like all the stuff that's going on in the books. They're really, really interesting. Um, so yeah, those are the comics that I'm reading now. The quick rip through.
Right on. All right. Well, I guess you know what? I'll follow suit because you're the comics guy, I'm the games guy, obviously. So I'll rip through a couple of game things. Guess I'll start with 2 DLCs, which were like back to back, essentially, like late March. They came out pretty quickly. Doom DLC Part 2, Ancient Gods Part 2, the last one. Um, Still more hardcore ass Doom. Like I felt like it was a little toned down in terms of intensely difficult from the first DLC, but it was still great. It wrapped off the story, super fun, just to blow away demons again. Like I think that's a really cool set pieces as well. Like there's one, I think the second level had like an awesome epic, like in context of what's happening, it was just really fucking cool. So I'll give a shout out to that. And you know, Doom is Doom, Doom is boom, and you know, that's what, like you said, what it said on tin, and it was super fun to blast through. Right on the heels of that was the second DLC for my game of the year of 2019, Outer Worlds, Murder on Eridanos, and Obsidian, you know, doing their thing. They're basically New Vegas in space. And it's a murder mystery, so like it takes place on like one of my things I'm a sucker for is like floating islands, no matter whether it's fantasy or sci-fi. So essentially like a floating resort in like a gas cloud. So it's like Cloud City, but as if it were like a hotel, like a spa. And a character gets murdered, and it's your job to figure it out. And it was really great. Perfect send off for both of those games on terms of DLCs. One quick thing you guys might like this. We did the review of Wally's Wonderland or Willy's Wonderland or whatever with Nick Cage a couple weeks back. I was like, you know what? In the wake of that, on Game Pass, they had all the Five Nights at Freddy's, or 1 to 4 at least. So I was like, you know what? I've never actually played any Five Nights. I know what it is, etc. But it was free, so I was like, let me try them out. I'm like, yeah, it's like jump scare the game with crazy animatronics. Like, you know, you're just like going around cameras, like, and if you like look at the wrong one at the wrong time, jump scare and you're dead. Like, okay, like, you know, I played like each of them for like an hour. I'm like, yep, it's pretty much it. Like, it's fine, but the art style was cool. Like the monsters look cool, so I know it's sort of like a cult phenomenon. You know, was one of the big like streamer things to do, and it was fun to check out. Rich Perry again, shout out to him. I finally got to also on Game Pass Streets of Rage 4. So like Streets of Rage was a defunct like beat 'em up from like the Sega Genesis era, and they put out like 4 like with a 20-year gap or whatever it was. And like, yeah, if you like side scrolling beat 'em ups like Final Fight style, like it's exactly that. It's perfect. Like the controls are tight. Like if you want to beat street thugs up through about like 10 levels and like have a boss at the end of each one, that's what it is, and it really works pretty well. And the last thing is, I guess I only want to speak briefly about this game because I just got it. Well, they just did the port, and I will certainly speak more about it on Top Games, for games and gaming culture, which is coming up in a couple weeks. But Disco Elysium, the final cut, it's an expanded, fully voice acted, which wasn't the case in the original one, and also a couple new quests were added in. So they finally did that for the port for consoles, and my God, it is amazing. Like it really does live up to the hype. I can't speak highly enough about it. I've been obsessively playing it. In fact, I only tore myself away from it to do this episode pretty much tonight. But yeah, it's so good. The writing is fucking on a next level. I just can't describe how good it is. Haven't seen anything like it in a long, long time. It's a game for me at this moment. Absolutely loving it. Incredible. So after this is over, I'll probably go play more of it. And again, I'll speak more about it as well. But yeah, that's literally the most recent thing that came out this week in terms of games that I've been just absolutely drawn into. And Disco Elysium is badass.
Nice.
So I think that's it for me for my stuff. Chris, do you have anything else left?
Yeah, I just want to say one thing. A synthwave album by Morgatsu, which is my synthetic name, will be out later this month. I'm trying to get a sponsorship from Arturia, so I want to once again mention Arturia Keystep 32, one of the greatest pieces of equipment. And I do have to bring on this. I bought the bullet and spent $300
Nice.
on a pedal for my guitar. It's the Steinman
Right on.
Pick. And the only reason I brought it up is because I actually bit the bullet and spent $300 on a stomp box for a guitar. So I have to mention the fact that I actually spent an absurd amount of money for a little thing, and it's worth every fucking penny.
You're a serious musician, man. And also, of course, we would never sell out. Isn't that right, Wayne?
I would never sell it to a Toria or Strymon. So there you go.
But no, very nice. Like I think we all are excited to see the final product of your EP, and it's super badass, Chris, because you are a legit musician and know what you're doing, and looking forward to it.
Maybe we'll put you on the next Roundup.
Yeah. Yeah, we're gonna review your album separately in 4 months and so forth. Yeah, but I think that's pretty much it. Oh wait, I'm sorry. I got one more thing to mention. I guess my little lead off. Two things actually, real quick. I'll save one for just after this. But last game, Outriders came out yesterday. Again, as of the date was recording, and it's a big like AAA. It was on Game Pass, and it's a $60 AAA game otherwise. But because I have Game Pass, okay, sweet, they're dropping it. It's supposed to be Chris. The devs themselves were like, "This is Borderlands meets Mass Effect." I'm like, that sounds cool, right?
What's it called?
Outriders.
Outriders.
It's third-person action, like looter, basically shooter looter, in like the sci-fi setting and all this and that. And like, cool. I want to check it out. And 10 hours ago, and servers. I tried to get on, can't connect to server, and you have to be online to play this. I can't even start a single-player campaign without being connected to their servers, which are crashing or not working or whatever. And everyone on the internet who's trying to play is like griping, like, and they're like, "Yeah, we're working on it." Like, not a good look to open up your game with. Can't even play it.
Maybe our company's IT is running the game. Maybe that's
but or maybe just like companies ostensibly well beyond the level of our bullshit company that work for Chris, like still find a way to fuck it up. So I really wanted to check it out. Like I was gonna play some with my friend Mikey and my friend Nicole and her husband Alex. Like we're gonna like co-op it up in a Borderlands / Mass Effect world, but nobody can do that. Nobody, none of the players can because the servers are not working. So I wanted to try it today and I couldn't, but good job there. And I think, all right, I think we should wrap up. But the last thing I had in mind is what's on the horizon? Like, is anything coming out that you guys are about to check out or got your eye towards?
I didn't have anything for this other than I think we mentioned earlier. I am looking forward to What If when that comes out in a couple.
Same. I mean, I got one that ties into that, but yeah, definitely. Do you know, Sivo, I guess, do we know the date on that? Do you have it in front of you?
No, I know Loki is in June, and then it's after that. So
okay, got you.
But yeah, I don't know. You got anything, Chris?
All I'm gonna say is I found a tattoo place that's very, very strict when it comes to COVID things. So hopefully by next one, I'll have a new tattoo on my forearm to commemorate the. Scott, it was actually your idea to commemorate the EP, get a new tattoo. So I'm getting a new tattoo. Other than that, I
suggest you all look at Chris's tattoo.
Yeah, we'll review your tattoo later.
Your form of pop culture.
But no, like I mean, I just felt like it would make sense. Like,
I have nothing. I'm like in tunnel vision mode right now, so I have no idea what's coming up.
I feel you. I honestly don't remember even giving you a session, Chris, but obviously something I would say. Like, and why wouldn't you commemorate your actual real produced full length release? Whatever. So right on.
Oh, the other thing that I think we also mentioned earlier was Saga is coming back at some point this year. So I'm looking forward to that in terms of comics.
But no date. So the one thing, so I'll tie it into to wrap up, Sivo, you mentioned Loki and What If, that's in June and afterwards. Right before that in May, late May, MODOK is coming out, but it will be on Hulu, not Disney, because it's more like adult themed, adult oriented, if you will.
Can't wait for that, man.
So yeah, that's one thing I'm looking forward to. It's fucking Patton Oswalt voicing MODOK, and it's like the production team who does the animation for Robot Chicken is working on it. So like it's gonna look like that. So like that's all sounds really great as a combination. So that's the one thing next on my horizon in terms of like stuff, TV stuff, pop stuff that we probably won't get to specifically on the shows. But yeah, I am on the lookout for that, and I'm gonna check it out because it looks the trailer looks amazing.
Sounds good.
All right, boys. So I think we've rambled on quite a bit at this point. That's what we've been checking out. Like that's actually more than I thought. Like, we always say like, oh, we don't have time to do anything. Like, I guess our time is spent doing all this, really. Yeah. But and that culminated in this episode. So hope you enjoyed. Check out some of the stuff. I think we're gonna try to have some of this stuff, if not all, in like the liner notes, so you can like see all the stuff we mentioned and look it up yourself if any of this stuff piques your interest or sounded cool to you. But I think that will do it for this one. I have been Scott Thurlow, and I'm everywhere and nowhere in pop culture. Been here with Chris Morgan.
Have a great night.
And Stephen Amosi.
To go spend the rest of my days watching TV and reading comics.
Yep, just like every other day. Thank you so much for joining us. See you next time. Cheers.
Editing and engineering by Christopher Morgan. Music by Christopher Morgan. Check us out on YouTube and iTunes for the shows, and on Facebook and Twitter for updates.